with a growing issue that we've been following very closely here on Power Lunch. Tomorrow, the Maryland State Assembly takes up a bill that would treat energy drinks like tobacco, banning sales and marketing to minors. If it goes through in Maryland, that state would be the first to make that kind of a move, although several cities are also considering legislation. Despite that, Monster Energy stock has been on a tear. In the last 3 months alone, the stock is up 17%, near a record high. We're going to talk with analyst John Fauché in just a moment on that. He's one of many Wall Street analysts with a buy on that stock. But one of tomorrow's star witnesses is a Maryland cardiologist who joins us, Dr. Stacy Fisher, who says she has seen the effects of these kinds of drinks firsthand. Dr. Kim Williams is the vice president of the American College of Cardiology, and he recently told us, quote, "It took researchers decades to study the effects of cigarette smoking. More data is needed before we can really tell how energy drinks impact the heart." Is it fair to move forward without more studies? Well, the Beverage Association sent some interesting comments on that. Let's go to Dr. Fisher right now and talk to her about this. Dr. Fisher, you have seen firsthand this week alone, I believe, several instances that are linked to these energy drinks, correct?
Absolutely. We've seen issues in both healthy and unhealthy patients. And a lot of emergency room visits. As a matter of fact, the emergency room visits from 2003 to 2011 have quadrupled. There's poison control data that show that emergency room visits in 2011 directly related to energy drinks were more than 20,000. Those emergency room visits often don't include people that were actually there for energy drinks because we're just learning as a medical community to even ask.
Well, you know, what about Dr. Kim Williams' statement? He thinks that there needs more time to study whether or not what you're seeing in the emergency room can be directly linked to these energy drinks. And he points out the fact that it took us decades to study the effects of smoking before we put in the kind of restrictions that we now have on cigarettes. I would assume you disagree with that.
I do. I think we're better than that at this point. As a matter of fact, the Maryland chapter of the American College of Cardiology fully supports this bill and has sent written testimony from Dr. Mugman, the head of the Maryland chapter, to Annapolis even last night. Really, we think that we could do a lot better. There's a lot of mounting data, and there's absolutely no data that these drinks are actually safe, or that the mix of caffeine and the newer ingredients have even been tested together, nevertheless tested in our children.
And very quickly, Doctor, you believe that it's the mix that's in the drinks, not just the caffeine alone, but the other parts of the beverage that contribute to the effects that you believe it's having on some of your patients.
Exactly. And again, these ingredients that are added are not really meeting generally recognized as safe standards and have never been tested in the quantities they're being used and with the combinations that are being used.
Okay. Doctor, thank you very much. We'll watch your testimony tomorrow. Thank you very much. All right, let's go now to the stock sides of things. And as we wait for the president to make his statement, there's a look at Monster Beverage. Today it's down, but 1 year move on that stock of better than 50%, 50% and a third, as a matter of fact. While we wait for the president to make his statement, let's get the stock side of things and go to John Fauché, who joins us. John, you have an overweight or a buy on this particular stock. Are you at all worried about the potential liabilities that were just outlined by Dr. Fisher?
Yes, I think the entire investment community is a little bit concerned in terms of some of the regulatory overhang, and I think that's had two impacts over the last 12 months. It's kept the multiple probably a little lower than what we would have anticipated, and it probably has had a little bit of a dampening effect on demand. Right now, though, I think the beverage industry is doing a great job in terms of working with the FDA, working with the Senate to try to move this along. And I think the key factor is they are tightening their marketing standards to make sure they're not marketing the product to kids under 18. And I think that's really the key factor here, is making sure they're going after the right target.
We have to go to the White House. Excuse me, John, there's the president.